What the?
What the opposite of music,
In your head?
How loud? Like how our listeners can hear it.
Welcome back to the Beer Plans Podcast. I am DJ Melodies.
Hey! The manliest man on the podcast.
I am him.
Melodies? Melodies?
If it sound like that, fuck it.
Alright. It's a real man right there.
Mr. Brown's here chilling.
As always, Mr. Cool laid back.
DJ V-Loss has burnt up some potato chips.
It's acid reflux.
Yeah.
It's your boy Vinny.
It's your Mad Flash trying to keep those resolutions chilling.
Oh, trigger words.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, V-Loss. Right.
The
Words.
Words.
Keep
Word.
your words. Welcome back. We're here for another episode, man. This one is going to be some educational shit. You know, we're not going to be talking about sucking peens and, you know,
He'll still get there.
We don't talk.
He'll still get there.
Metaphorically, man.
you know, and that man that we will not discuss because then it'll be
Shit,
another.
which one at this point?
That one.
All right.
The one on the wall right now.
Oh, yeah.
We do talk about Bruce Lee a lot.
So, and like, yo, him going against Ali would be crazy. I love it. Ali
That would have been
break something.
insane.
Ali would have knocked him out, though. Hands down. He would have. He absolutely would have. Well, I take that back. No, Bruce Lee would have won if it was MMA. But if it was straight boxing, Ali would have worked.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Why do I
It
never look at that?
it
picture?
depends on the
I always
rules.
look at the last two.
Well, Entourage and...
Entourage. The one that's okay. The one that symbolizes greatness.
Yeah,
And you
just
skip
totally
the other.
skip past it to the douchiest.
Okay, all right. Well, Entourage is douchey.
Maybe.
I think in 2024 eyes, yeah, but so people say Entourage didn't age well. I say it's a great like capture.
Oh, the
of a point in
capsule of the times, yeah.
absolutely.
So, we've been talking in the group chat for a couple weeks now about this Project Baltimore documentary that was released by some people that's affiliated with Fox 45 Baltimore. And it's basically about the culture of Baltimore Baltimore City schools.
Skitty. Skitty.
And this whole grade fixing and mismanage of funds. So, I want to give y'all a little brief, what is it, synopsis?
Synopsis,
There you go.
Words.
Look
There
at
you go,
you.
Barbara Walters.
Yeah,
right.
a brief synopsis of this documentary, and then we're just gonna go, and discuss it, because it's kind of personal to me. It's kind of personal to us because we live in Baltimore, but it's definitely personal to me because it's definitely about the future of the children, and I'm all about the kids.
And wait, before y'all like turn away from this episode, it all matters because like it's not Baltimore that's the only place with shitty schools. Scenarios.
Absolutely not.
So,
DC is in trouble for the same thing. Like,
All
literally, as
across
of right
the
now,
nation.
they're in trouble
Across
for the
the
same
all
thing.
across the nation.
All across
yeah.
the nation. So, over the past 5 years, Project Baltimore has been investigating Baltimore City public schools. Project Baltimore is a team of journalists affiliated with Fox 45 News station based in Baltimore. According to Project Baltimore, there has been rumors of grade fixing and mismanaged funds within Baltimore City schools, but in 2017, they received evidence from a Baltimore City teacher via text message from the teacher's school principal instructing teachers to change failing grades to passing. Project Baltimore also received report cards of students at the teacher's school reflecting grade fixing. Some of these report cards were of students that had never even showed up to the teacher's class. It's been reported that over $1 billion from taxpayers is sent to city schools every year. In 2017, 6 schools could not produce a single student that was proficient in math and English, and 13 high schools that did not have any students proficient in math. Like a lot of schools across America, Baltimore City schools have been underperforming for decades. Parents of failing students have requested their children be held back, but schools still promote these kids to the next grade. In 2017, Project Baltimore filed a public records request asking for all documentation related to grade fixing. After a year, the school system sent Project Baltimore pages and pages of redacted paperwork. Project Baltimore then sued the school system for the documents, and it went to trial in 2019. It was found that the school system willingly and knowingly violated the law by refusing to release the documents. There is evidence that funds for the schools were mismanaged, misappropriated, and that was covered up by the schools. One report shows $33,000 was spent on Wizard tickets.
Wait. What's it? Tickets cost $300,000.
Must have been a lot of tickets. Booth rents.
Jesus Christ! They rent the stadium out like.
Did they take care of the Wizards games?
Blowing money on.
Oh, that's a good. Oh,
I
yeah.
did think about that too.
Probably box. They probably had a box too, a skybox.
I mean, it might have been more than one school. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm just saying that's a possibility.
Yeah. Is that over the course of time, or that was one transaction?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Either way,
But-
it's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're taking care of the Wizards games, that's kind of dope.
I think that's a great example of like when there's numbers without nuance. But
Yeah.
Sure.
That's true.
Very true. It was discovered that 22 investigations were conducted regarding grade fixing and only 11 were reported by the school system. Widespread grade fixing was confirmed in all of those investigations. It was found that students were being socially promoted, which is the practice of passing students to the next grade, no matter their skill level, to help their self-esteem. And they call this learned helplessness. And they do this up until the student reaches high school, and then it's basically up to the teacher's discretion to promote them. In 2019, city residents filed a lawsuit against Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, accusing them of wasting tax dollars for failing to properly educate students. Taxpayers are forced to fund a broken education system and additional costs to the criminal justice and social welfare systems. City residents feel that they are funding their demise. Ben Crump has joined the residents' legal team. The school's CEO and chief of schools say they were unaware of the pressures on the schools to change the grades, even though Project Baltimore notified them years prior in a public meeting. The inspector general even confirmed the wrongdoing, and the governor at the time, Hogan, called for a criminal investigation.
Oh, dang, that's a lot. God damn.
You did a good job with that. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for bearing with me with all that, with that synopsis. So
Yeah.
I was,
And shout out to Melodies for like keeping like some level of like high-mindedness in the group chat when we're
definitely.
devolving into base debauchery.
it's a lot of these nuts jokes.
I think
amongst
twerking is real, but
education.
y'all know about these school systems.
So with all that said, I did send the documentary to everybody. Pretty much everybody in the group watched it, and I just want to know what y'all thoughts. We started talking about it within the group chat. Let's bring that over to the pod. How do y'all feel? First, how do y'all feel about the grade fixing? These teachers are being pressured. If these kids have failing grades, bump them up to passing and just passing them on. How do we feel about that?
Not good. I mean, let's keep it as
Well,
simple.
not good.
No. But I mean, I think that's really like the title, learned helplessness, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's generally setting them up for failure in life. And I know personally, I can speak personally a little bit because not getting naming names, but someone I know of, they have a son that's in height that I know pretty much, that happened. I know for sure, because his dad more or less kind of said the same thing. Again, I don't want to get too personal. I'm not putting nobody's business out there. So that's what I was struggling.
What did
with.
he say?
So I think, it's basically he wasn't really. It's clear that he didn't learn much, and that he was definitely an example of someone who was probably, I don't know for sure if he never flat out said like his grades were fixed. I ain't gonna go there. But I think it was just more along the lines of like he was able to pass doing the bare minimum. Mm-hmm. So I'm not gonna say if for sure it was actual grade changing involved. I don't know that for sure.
Just suspect but
I think
sorry,
you just suspecting that. Yeah, you kind of maybe something. That's kind of the conversation that was had, and then I can. And that's just one person. Because the other stuff's later on. I'm gonna get into another personal example I have, kind of like about specifically Baltimore school systems, and some when I was younger, how it was, and why we had to, as a family, had to move because of the Baltimore school system. So I'll get into that later. But I think just specifically grade fixing, I generally think it's, in most cases, you're not. What are we really doing here in terms for the kids' education? It just seems like a way to make the school look better, and ultimately, if these kids aren't retaining the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? What are they? In the program, for example, in the clip, the documentary, the one woman they took to, I think I forget her name, but she more or less kind of explained how she was basically functionally illiterate, and how it impacted her and her to the point where she was like, her job, for example, she said I was working these 40-hour week jobs and I was getting paid $40 because she ain't know no better.
The background on that,
I'm sorry,
she was an older lady. She was basically in the documentary to show that this isn't just happening; it's been happening.
It's not new.
And her mother was a drug addict, and I think her father was incarcerated or just not around. And they kind of just passed her along through the system, and she couldn't read, and they kept passing her until she got to the 9th grade, and they basically said, well, you're too big now, physically, you should just drop out. And she wound up dropping out at 9th grade. She tried to get jobs. She couldn't read, so these jobs were kind of fucking her over, doing what they wanted to do to her because she couldn't read paperwork or anything that she was signing. And then she went ahead and had 2 kids that are now in Baltimore City schools.
And so how are those kids doing? Her kids? Does anybody know?
Yeah, so it's on the documentary, right? Yeah, so point of information with that. Yeah, she dropped out of 9th grade. So yes, to anybody, whether you're smart or not, if you drop out of the 9th grade, you're trying to get these jobs, you're not going to get them. You don't even have a high school diploma.
Well, point that they raised was she dropped out in 9th grade because she was passed along and she couldn't do the work. And by the time she got to 9th grade, it was because she had no context for the prior work, she was unable to do the work, and therefore she wasn't really.
But you still made the conscious decision to drop out at the end of the day. Regardless of what your reasons are, you made a conscious decision to drop out. So at the point when you could have got it together, you stopped. You quit. So, you left. I'm not trying to shame her at all, but the fact of the matter is, trying to get any job and you don't even have a high school diploma, yes, you're not going to make money. You're done. But for that point, the part that they left out is her kids are under Baltimore City schools. They can read. The same school system. Her kids can now read. But of course, they're not going to press it up. And she even said it. But you know what Fox News did? What they always did is zoom past that part.
At what grade level?
They're at their right grade level.
Did they say that?
I
thought she said that.
I'm not for sure.
I'll look back up, man.
Was she frustrated and left? Is that
no? Her thing was she felt embarrassed.
That wasn't frustrated.
Yeah, she felt embarrassed because she didn't know it.
She had a level of frustration and embarrassment.
And she was like, her kids come home now and they read, and she feels so enlightened and heartened up because they can read. And I'm like, y'all in the same school system, so it might have been that you decided to drop out of 9th grade. You got the situation that you got.
But that is a weird thing that's about this generation. I don't even want. That's the most disgusting thing I ever heard. Basically y'all just saying fuck these kids, man, and just doing what y'all want to do. But that is an interesting thing about this generation. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine the other day about his kids and how they do in school, and he's like, yeah, man, my kids they go to school and they all of them straight A's, and my rap is always we're always straight A students till we go to high school. So he was like, no, even in high school, my daughter takes school very seriously, and I don't know if that's a generational shift, but kids. I didn't know if I was wrong. No. But kids seem to take, while they're about their bullshit with with social media and stuff, they take the schoolwork part very seriously. I don't know why that is, and thank God they do, because from what I'm hearing, man, the higher ups in charge of education don't give a fuck. So I don't know if kids are aware of this and they're just taking their lives into their own hands or what, but it sounds like this one girl just fell into the trap of this whole thing, and now her life is fucked up, and maybe because her life is going through this, her kids are like, well, I don't want to, be like this. I want to I want to be able to read, and I want to be able to write, and I want to be able to do all that. So, So that's an interesting shift.
Can I ask a question? And I'm honestly, I'm just curious. How many people here have been in Baltimore City school system for more than, like, let's say 5 years?
No,
I have. Yeah.
Okay, got
More than 5. Yeah.
You
more
from
than
2nd through 12th grade.
2nd through 12. Okay, got
that was pre-K through.
And what about high school?
9th grade.
All through high school. So
You went
I went to private school, kindergarten and 1st grade, and my experience was that so I wound up going to public schools because my grandfather was bankrolling my private school education. He died, and so in 2nd grade I went to Leaf Walk Elementary, which is in East Baltimore. For those that
East
aren't
Baltimore.
familiar. So
3 of us in the room, dude.
my experience though was those 2 years of being in private school alone had me levels ahead in reading, writing, and math than my counterparts. I was part of the 2-3 kids off to the side when you did the reading groups and stuff.
You ain't gotta be in the gym pop.
What was the gym pop? What was the reading books in the 90s? Bit by bit, adventuring and all that. So like the group I was in was like 3-4 books ahead. I don't think it was because I was smarter than anybody. I just think the instruction that I had then like just was different.
Prepared you.
You know what I'm saying? And so that was my experience. And then but then later on, my experience in so like 8th grade to 9th grade, from a math perspective, I was stunted. And that's because in 8th grade, the friends that I had in middle school were because I went to, we'll call it a rough middle school. The middle school I went to, there was assumptions made about certain kids, and so like the math class I was in, they chose you could sit with whoever you wanted to sit with, and probably for the teacher's peace of mind because those kids was bad as shit. But she made assumptions about who, like the groups that sat with who, right? And so the quote unquote smart kids, I'm doing air quotes here, when they raise their hand, they would get immediate attention. For me, I would like have my hand raised for a long time, and sometimes it was a crapshoot. Sometimes I would get help, and sometimes I wouldn't. And it was because she made assumptions about the kids at the table that I sat with. When I got to 9th grade, my teacher refused to teach us. She said it in the first day of class that she's not teaching us. She said the drill is on this part of the board, the classwork is on this part of the board. Don't ask me any questions. You said that's in 9th grade? Yeah.
That's high school.
And what school was that?
This was high school. So I graduated from City, but I went to Mervo for 9th and 10th grade. And so I learned all of my 9th grade math from one of my friends who wasn't supposed to be in that class because she knew all of it already. Because my teacher refused to teach us. And that carried with me through college. And so I'm a software engineer now, but I failed calculus in college. And I guarantee you I can trace back the impact back to that experience in 8th and 9th grade. And so I had both ends of the spectrum when it comes to Baltimore City Public School like instruction. Now, some might say, you just kind of had like bad luck of the draw, right? That wasn't someone who should have been employed because, to be fair, my 9th grade math teacher did quit at the end of the year. You know, that was a job for her, and she got tired of it and she quit. But the impact was still there.
So my question, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Even then, like when I transferred from Mervo to City, the people that like I showed my report card to, they were like, I don't understand why you were in Mervo in the first place. You should have been here. They wanted to put me in advanced classes. I had to step down from the advanced math class I was placed in because I didn't understand it conceptually because it builds on top of itself. And so that's a lot of school. And, you know, I'm a pause right there because, like, I can go on and on about this, but, like, by design, the curriculum is designed to build on top of itself. And when you go into the next grade, the assumption is that you understand all of it. If you got a C's worth of knowledge and the assumption is that you have an A's worth of knowledge, you're probably going to have a hard time. But that's, yeah.
So my thing with that, right? And again, I can speak to that because I've been involved with schools my whole life. So I get how this thing goes. But to that point that you were making, Vinny, a lot of people don't make it out of that, right?
For sure.
So, like, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you were in Mervo, but you were blessed enough to make it out and go to City. My thing is, you're trying to me, when in terms of grade changing, a lot of times you're trying to penalize the students for, you can increase accountability of students without giving them the help on the other side. And that's the issue that I had even with the news coverage. I felt like, you're pressing these kids, don't pass them if they're not getting the material. But to your point, I was at Carver, city school. That was the norm. Yeah. Like, I can tell you from this, and that's why I had both ends of the spectrum too.
What was no?
Thank God, I'm gonna get to that point, but thank God I went to Dickey Hill. Shout out to every teacher that's listening to Dickey Hill now. I did. Oh, but when I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Stuff I learned in college, everything that I learned math-wise, English-wise, I learned at Dickey Hill to this day. I use that in college and school. Now I can break down kilograms to pounds or pounds to kilograms now because of what I learned in middle school.
Okay.
Now that fast forward, I got to high school. You know what I learned at high school? Sports, how to play tomp, how to play spades, how to play pity pat, how to shoot dice. So to my point though is I've been in those classes where the teacher's terrified of the student, so she won't teach. Well, I've been in those classes where the teacher has his favorite student, and like Vinny's saying, it only matters about this student. I don't care about the rest of y'all. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, they had college bound trips where they taking the athletes. They not taking Joe that really want. You can have a girl here that's quiet that has a whole 4.0 because she's quiet. She's not going to these college bound trips. Right. So my point being with that is, yeah, school system needs some help, but you can't penalize these kids in terms of, I'm gonna hold you to this level of accountability without giving you this amount of resources. So you having it. So essentially, what you can have happen is, and what you did have happen, because I've seen it happen, is okay. This kid isn't learning, so I'm gonna hold you back 2-3 times. But it's not because you're not getting information. It's because your teacher ain't teaching. So why are you sitting back saying, "Oh, you ain't get this. You got a 45, or you got a 58, so I'm not passing you." Never mind the fact that this teacher teaches for 10 minutes and then leaves. But and then does what he did do.
It sounds like you're saying the issue's still with the school system.
No, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that you don't fix that, but my point is, don't sit back and then fuss at them. Either fuss about the grade changing and make sure they're accountable on the other end, or leave the grade changing alone and let them keep going forward. But you can't have both. You can't sit back and say, oh, and that's my issue with 545 is that they're trying to say, oh yeah, well, you just letting these kids pass along. But that's because the part they're leaving out is a lot of times you don't have teachers there to teach them all the time. And you have some amazing teachers. You have some spectacular teachers in Baltimore City. Spectacular, do well beyond what they get paid for.
I agree.
But you also have some teachers that are terrible. And my thing is, if you are a student that's trying to get into college, that grade change thing can mess you up and going to college because you had a teacher that don't want to teach you. Not because you don't know the material, not because you can't pass, but because you have a teacher that doesn't want to teach you that material, and now you're stuck in that cycle. So now that can put somebody back years because all you got is a whole high school diploma because now as though I got an okay SAT score, I got a good grades here, but because I got an F here, now I'm stuck.
So to Melody's initial question, I will say this. The other side of that, I do feel for teachers with the grade fixing thing because I worked in sales. And when you're held to some quantitative goal that, especially if it feels unattainable.
To receive funding, because that's what it's for, right?
Like, so, and when I say I feel for the teachers,
and I think they get fined too because that was like that federal No Child Left Behind thing.
Oh, okay.
I think they got hit with that too.
That I didn't know.
So when I say I feel for the teachers, at least when I was in sales and I, did what I had to do to get my numbers, I got a commission check that directly went to me. These teachers stood on business. If you watched the documentary, these teachers was responding like emails would be sent out from administrators saying, "This is the standard. These grades need to be changed," like in no uncertain terms. And these teachers were standing on business saying, "Nah, that's bullshit. I'm not like this student of 180 days has not been in my class for 138. I'm not doing it." So I give it to the teachers because that's an impossible position to be in because mixed in that is your livelihood, and you're talking about the kids who aren't getting the instruction for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? So that's the other side of this is an impossible pressure because, if you say like, I want to, like, I'm not going to do this, because they didn't do it, you risk your livelihood. But on the other hand, if you just pass the kid along, like, first of all, okay, sorry, middle of this thought. I tried to look up and look through and read through the rules as it pertains to like the grades and stuff like that, it is in the policy. Teachers are not supposed to give a child under a 50 when it comes to like, I mean, perhaps I should go.
But if a 50 is failing, does it really matter though?
Yes.
Why?
It does matter.
What's it matter if you get a 50 and a 25? What's the difference?
Because when you're averaging grades.
Right. I was gonna say it's
when you're
average.
averaging grades. And those those statistics.
Are you talking about for tests, or are you talking about as a final?
They were doing it for both.
They were doing it for both. They were doing it for tests and final grades. And when those numbers matter when it comes to federal funding, it matters. So if a child hasn't been there for 138 days and have turned in 0 assignments, they should probably get the grade
that they deserve.
Yeah. Yes, that sucks for the child, but it is also representative because here's the thing.
But how many kids do you really think are doing that though? Like how many? If we talking about all these kids that are failing, right? If out of 100%, what percentage of kids do you really think are missing over that much school?
Exactly. We don't know.
Well, if you
because grades are being changed.
But you didn't been in Baltimore City schools, right? Like you stated, right? So my thing is, I've been in Baltimore City schools. From my experience and what I've seen, and from what everybody's talking about with their kids, that's not the norm. You got 1 or 2 kids that may be missing that much, and I get it. If that's the situation, I get it. So give me a percentage of what you think.
Like I knew people that went to Northern, which doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, it doesn't?
They separated the name. They
changed the name so many times. I don't know what it is.
They split up like 2 different schools.
Last I remember, it was Reginald F. Lewis and something else. But like, I remember. So we're old in this room, and Northern. So if the name of your school had a direction in it, it was a zone school. And you didn't want to go to a zone school when you was like at that point.
So you would say that was more than like 30, 40 kids missing class that much?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't see that much.
Shit. In middle school, I remember seeing people be like,
damn,
I ain't
but think about this.
To more prestigious city schools.
But also think about...
Listen, hold on. Yeah. Understand, I've had somebody run in my classroom because they running from the police and try to blend into the class, sit down with the hoodie on. My school was not prestigious. Like, by far. Really they just had to shoot, man, like, what, last month?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they was in it. Like, Carver is a...
It wasn't worse than Northern, though.
No, I agree. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Northern was a... Northern was an interesting school.
Yeah.
And Carver had some great teachers.
Lake was an interesting school.
Yeah.
And I'll speak as like for me. I'll speak of someone for myself. Like I probably had the overall good experience with the Baltimore State school system, but that was because I was a nerd as a kid. I was a bookworm. So I was I went to like I've been in public school my whole life. I've never went to private school except for like my preschool year. I think there was like I don't know if it was private or what, but whatever. So I went to the public school my entire life, and for me because at the time I was. It was easier for me to comprehend that stuff. I was a nerd. I was in a gifted in reading program and shit at Leaf Walk. You know what I'm saying? So, I was able to like have a choice for what middle school and high school I wanted to go to. I was like, I was like, you know what? I went to Roland Park. Roland Park. I don't know what that's considered, but it was a public school. But it was a public school. You had to have certain good grades to get into.
School, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was considered a good school. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I had the grades that.
You probably Roland Park.
I might have.
Yeah, you did.
And then I went to Roland Park, and then when it came to high school, before we moved, I was able to choose my high school because I had good grades, so I was able to choose to go to City. Baltimore City College is what it stood for. So that's and Baltimore City for y'all who are in Baltimore. Again, that's considered one of the. That's one of the most prestigious good schools. So for me, I was. That was my experience. But in my same household, I had a younger brother who didn't quite grasp that. He didn't have the same kind of learning methods, right? Mm-hmm. So. My mother knew at the time, like when it came for him to go to middle school, he would have had to go to his own school, which would have been, that's chicken pen. Well, he would have had to have gone to a not so good school. Yeah. Because he wasn't, and then she knew, that eventually that would have very likely led him down a completely different path in life. If we would have stayed, I feel like, I don't know for sure, we can't predict the future, but I think she already knew, like, all right, look. This one, it's the learn. He's not. It's he learns differently. And I know I'm gonna lose him to the streets if he goes to this, the zone school. You know what I'm saying? So that was why she had made the decision to move us out. Move us
So
to
she
the
literally
suburbs.
had to move you to another county to get a better public school opportunity.
Can I wait? Can I say this? Props to your mom.
Yes.
Because I went to Chickapin for my middle school. And
You would have went to every school in Baltimore.
I only went to one middle school. But
his high school got alumni money though. That's about he ain't telling me like, yo, them city poly games, they bring through bread. You see that building? Sure.
They play him they had the Ravens Stadium for those games.
Dog, that's what I'm saying. His school got money. Don't let him tell you that. His school got bread.
Here's the crazy part. We're gonna get the city and poly in a second. But props to your mom because I went to Chickapin. And let me tell you something. My third day in school in 6th grade, I got punched in my face by an 8th grader that was just walking outside and just wanted to punch me because his friend was standing next to him and said, yo, punch that little 6th grader. So here's the thing. People internalize experiences differently. Some people choose to be tougher and harder. And some people choose
it completely destroy them.
And so I say props to your mom because the blessing is y'all will never know how your brother what direction he would have gone because she got him out of Dodge before she had the chance to figure it out.
And that's a failure in the school system right there, that you got to move to go to a school where you won't be punched in the face.
But to that
randomly,
point though, like,
I mean, like,
I got lucky in middle school. Because the motherfuckers that I was like friends with in elementary school became hardened in middle school. So whenever after that one experience, that was the only negative experience I had. Whenever someone ever tried me in middle school after that, they was like, nah, don't fuck with him. Like that's like you shouldn't have, like you said, you shouldn't have to learn in that type of environment.
But that's my point though, and it kind of gets to that point of trying to hold students accountable when they got in those situations. Like I said, I'd have been doing it. Couple of times.
You mean like a fighting situation?
I'll tell you some more off camera, but it's been a lot.
Off camera.
I'll tell you.
I'll exist.
I'll tell you. No, I'm saying with you.
Well, I think that's a social thing.
Hold on, but here's my thing though. Hold on. Because at the end of the day, you got teachers that are like, yo, protect me. Because you had teachers getting hit on, punched on, shot at, hurt. So my thing is, So my thing is, before you fix all of that, you're gonna make this accountability this standard without fixing these problems, and that's my issue. Because again, there are kids with chicken pen. If you got somebody threatening to hurt you in class, how am I gonna focus on what this math does?
That's true.
If I'm sitting back and I don't know where my food is coming from, how am I gonna focus on this class?
That's true.
So my thing is, if you want to make that grade thing the standard, then that's fine. But my thing that Fox 45 leaves out is that you trying to make it this standard without trying to fix these problems. And they know it's easier to sit back and hold this standard without fixing these problems.
Oh yeah, it's a community thing.
Exactly.
Because you can just change it. Yeah.
Right. So if you want to
change that on paper.
Right. So if you want to make that grade standard, that fine. But then make sure you fix all of these things so they got an equal chance to get to.
Well, also, like you said, like one of the ground floor problems is taking care of the teachers. If you ain't paying teachers shit, you ain't. You know what I'm saying? Like Why would they care about?
Your best and brightest teachers should be paid $200.
Think about the grand scale of this whole
thing. And you got plenty of teachers that use their own money for so much stuff. Shout out, hold on, and I will say this: shout out to Baltimore City teachers that put in the work, because y'all don't get paid enough to what y'all deal with.
I think that's a lot of teachers in general. Like, okay, so let's go down the basic path of a teacher. Like you want to be a teacher, right? You're a kid, you want to be a teacher, you want to help people. You go to college, whatever.
20 grand in debt.
Exactly where I was going. And your base pay is what? 30, 35?
40 if you're lucky.
40, 50.
40 if you're lucky.
40, 50, yeah.
So, okay. And then you got you got a different generation of kids.
Wait, time out.
Yeah.
You gotta go to grad school unless you go.
Grad school, yeah.
Unless you're gonna go to like a public school system like the city where they have a shortage of teachers, then you don't need a grad.
Right. So then, okay. So kids are way different now than when you were a kid, right? So now you got kids that care more about the spectacle of being on social media than actual education. Mm-hmm. All right, fine, whatever. Deal with it. Kids, you knew what you were signing up for.
Some schools can't even touch kids' phones now, though. Like, if the kid want to have this phone, as a teacher, I can't take it.
Okay, that's what. Okay, so now you got that problem too, and now you got the problem of all this going on, where you
the preamble.
Well, just all the stuff. Just all the stuff of you gotta change grades. Your kids ain't your kids ain't coming to class, and you're getting them from all barrels. And then on top of that, you $30,000 in debt. So,
no, 100%.
So what's your motivation to want to change kids' lives when you get no support, or not even talking about the parents? My God Almighty. Not even talking about the parents.
And you can get a job as a manager at a Walmart making more than double.
Right. And hold on, and that's another beef that I have with Fox 45, because you had one lady on there talking about, well, my kid missed 30 days and they still passed him. Shorty, where was you? Where are you at when your kid is missing 30 days?
I was confused by that one parent.
Yeah. I didn't know
what are you talking? Like, oh, is it school fault? How about you be a parent? Like, how about you know where your kid is at for 30 days?
But to that, I will say this. So someone I know who actually has a PhD in education, like, and has done research on, like, specifically like this sort of like interesting dynamic that Baltimore City Public Schools has. They said that the problem, I worked on a campaign for a state delegate. Just rewind for a second. And the research. So no. The research I found. So like at the time they were complaining because they were like, Baltimore City schools are underfunded, and so I started looking for like evidence so that he can like have those talking points.
Was that my thing?
Yeah, that was that thing.
Yeah.
He was outside in the heat.
Oh yeah.
Trying to outside in the heat. So hot.
Campaigning in 95-degree weather is not for the faint of heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Help my boy, come.
Sweating hard like, we gotta get him.
We definitely earned our friend card that day.
I'm gonna tell him he owe all y'all a drink, but no. So,
a bottle.
So I started researching. I was like, all right, let me find the talking points for why Baltimore City schools are underfunded. And what I found was the opposite. Baltimore City schools, not only are they funded, but they're the fourth most well-funded large school system in the country.
What year was this?
This was 2018, but it still holds true now. Now, give me some latitude for a second. So, what the
walk with him?
What the I know my guys. So,
walk with him.
Here's some whiskey. Come back. One of the people that I wound up having a conversation with during that time, who was way more knowledgeable about this shit than me, because like I'm just learning and trying to find. She said the issue isn't funding. So I was like, oh, immediately right there, I'm like, oh, okay. I feel validated. She said the issue is the lack of wraparound services, which we've all been kind of talking to or around this entire time, which is so wraparound services kind of speaks to what Flash was saying, which is how I'm gonna do this math homework if when I go home I got two parents that's like on the hunt for some crack. Or how can I get help with my algebra or my book report when I'm hungry? How can I get help with my history project when
these bullies are bullying me because I ain't got these shoes?
Right. Or and then some of it, which we kind of didn't talk about, is actually cultural, which is how do I go and aspire to get good grades when you're a clown if you do your schoolwork? But that's a whole nother conversation. But like so
we can get to that because that's how. Never mind.
So the problem.
Triggered.
I'm triggered.
No, you just be like, man, fuck you and get your shit. Like, man. Fuck
so when I say to what Flash has said about like the problem he has with the report from Fox, the reason I don't have a problem with that is because they scoped the report pretty narrowly. They scoped the report to specifically they're changing the grades and like so yes, there's a larger underlying cultural aspect to that. But to me, I'm of the opinion that because that exists does not mean you should change the grades. If anything, these teachers and this administration should be given the latitude to report the things as they are.
Yeah, reflect what's really happening.
So that everyone can see how shitty it is.
But that's at the expense of the students, though. That's still fucking them up, though.
That's actually a tenet of what Dr. King did. Why the fuck do you think Dr. King? Okay, look,
if we can show,
I'm about to say, I'm heading you out.
If you're reporting because and you can show the information that these kids are failing, we have the information.
But they're still
funding us. what's going on.
But now their future is messed up, though. If you're saying I'm gonna let these kids fail, I'm gonna report this accurately. I'm gonna let them fail because I didn't fix these problems first. So now their future's fucked up. How you figure?
Wait.
Hold on. Hold on. Pause. I know two people in particular. They were trying.
Take that back. They might not fail anyway. That's too journalistic.
That's what I'm saying. But there are people that have been almost.
If what was the word? Socially promoting them. It's going to get them to a point that once they get to high school, it's going to be a.
But here's the thing: like you doing the same thing the teachers did. You trying to generalize what these kids are going to do without trying to fix these problems first. If I tell you need to have a 1,400 SATs, but I don't teach you what this is.
Ignoring it though.
But that's what I'm saying. You're basically saying let these kids fail. And then that way it's going to paint this picture. But it's still letting the kids fail. And their future is still messed up.
But if we show the results that failing, something can be done.
That's cool, but this kid is already messed up now, though.
But wait,
that's happening.
No, but you can't say I'm going to let these kids fail.
But wait, let's not focus on the failing.
You can't let the kids fail.
Wait. Let's not focus on pass or fail. Let's focus on this. If you report the numbers, all right, look. Let's find a middle ground in this. Let's pretend for a second that the numbers are reported as is, but the kids still get socially promoted. Okay? That's the common ground we found. No one's happy with it, but it is what it is.
I'm not happy with it. I ain't gonna lie.
But it is what it is, right? So if you report the numbers as is, when people look at the numbers, they're gonna be like, well, goddamn, 6% or whatever the percentage is of kids are reading at their proper grade level or what have you. Now, call back as the pros call it in this industry to City and Poly. A report came out from Fox News. I know you're not cool with Fox News. That said that when you get to the high school level,
it wasn't that the purpose of summer school.
What? Oh yeah. There was a shame and there used to be a shame in going into summer school, but that's a whole nother conversation.
But my thing is that's still in your transcript.
You passed them through. They still got to go.
Wait. That's still in your transcript. We can talk on your transcript. It's going to show. I talk about that. But wait, I took this to try to get it better. But I still had this family grade on my transcript.
Wait. We can talk about
that
in a second.
College, that's still there.
We can talk about that in a second. I want to get this point up.
Sorry.
So let's say all right. So the numbers are reported accurately, right? No, but kids are still kept in the same. So everybody's placated. So when you look at the numbers, when it comes to high schools. City and Poly, which are our crown jewel schools in this city. So whatever city you live in, think about those crown jewel schools for you. That's City.
But
they
might not even
Baltimore.
Be crown jewels, but that's what everybody describes them as.
City and Poly, they're
regarded.
You politicians when you graduate from there,
right? They're regarded.
Highly regarded.
They're highly regarded.
You still get your head bust in those schools.
Of course.
True, but when you finish, you still got your future.
But that's why I say it's more of a social thing.
But you try to get to Harvard, you got a way better chance at Poly and City.
But wait. Here's the thing. Here's the problem. City and Poly math proficiency rates were below 20%. And
what's that? You said math proficiency?
Math proficiency rates.
Oh, math proficiency. Okay.
We're below 20%, and only one was close to that, and that was Poly. Mm-hmm. City was third, I believe, and don't quote me on that. Just go.
What year was this?
2022, I think.
I think everybody dropped that to COVID. Like nationally, I think everything dropped.
But here's the thing. So the proficiency rates, and you're just talking about just doing regular math. We ain't talking about doing no Calc 3 or nothing like that, right?
Oh, trade.
So,
God.
You said trade? You want to do some trade?
Oh!
That word.
But no. So these are your crown jewel schools. I'll tell you this. So I recently started going back to the City Poly events and festivities and stuff as a city alum. This year, the most recent year, I went to an event at City, physically at City, and I'm walking around and I am seeing what I feel is paint that I remember on the walls in the cafeteria when I was there. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing lighting that is what I remember being the worst.
To the bathrooms.
I'm going to the bathroom.
See that yellow ring
and the damn
that same yellow ring that been in the toilet.
No, the sinks where you wash your hands and you gotta press and hold one side
Still
for
there.
the cold and one side for the hot.
Hated those.
The same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'll summarize it as saying this because I didn't see the entire school. So maybe it's different upstairs because they had parts closed off or what have you for obvious reasons. But so as an alumni, I never wished more that I had, a cool $1 billion I was sitting on so that I can just say, look, here's $100 million. Let's get this school together and upgrade it. Now, give me 30 more seconds. So, part of what's going on currently in the discourse about like upgrading like the whole like the buildings and the projects and stuff like that around that poly. Part of the discourse is there's actually a thought that because of the current guidelines that exist, they would actually have to tear the building down because the building is too large to renovate. The halls are too wide because of the math. Because the math has like a 30-year sustainability like equation that you have to meet.
Does that include Western too, or is it just how?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they're saying what? They're saying it's too big.
So what they're saying is like you can't remodel all of it as is. They would actually have to make it smaller because in order for it to be sustainable over the next 30 years. And the problem I have with that is Baltimore City has state delegates and state senators, right, that vote on rules for how you allocate funds for education. That's both for how you educate children and both the like buildings and things like that and the new construction projects that you do. None of these rules ever really get changed. Have any of y'all tried to read these rules? That shit is daunting. Ain't no parent, I can tell you right now. First of all, the rules that I was reading ain't got shit to do with my kids because my kids go to Baltimore County Public Schools. That shit is hard. I spent an hour and a half and I only made a minor dent in that shit. So the thing is like you have officials that have been elected that aren't changing these rules. Because also part of these rules where you want to get buildings like remodeled and stuff like that, like I don't know, air conditioning inside of these schools and stuff like that. Because like Hogan like leaned in on local officials and they were like, well, that was a political stunt. I agree to some level that was a political stunt. But here's the other side of that. Part of the rules in order to get things done with the buildings is the municipality has to pay for those changes to be done and get reimbursed by the state on the back end. If you got a tax base, like Howard County and Montgomery County, you can do that. That's fine.
But if it's in a
we can make that happen.
Neighborhood.
But if
games, bro, like that's my point. That's my whole point.
But if
why are you playing games?
But if you're a place like Baltimore City where the home ownership rate is 40% and the renter and you have over 60% of people who rent, where you have no tax base, the math is a little different when it comes to trying to get that. So how is it that your elected officials, who are all from one party, not trying to go down that road, are not...
Because they're getting it from another fucking party by that person that you just mentioned.
Are not changing... Are not choosing to change the rules.
Your words.
I'm sorry, my word already.
Are not choosing to change the rules.
Please.
Because as a legislator, you should be beholden to your constituents. Your constituents are the motherfuckers in your area and your locale that vote for you. But if the five of us in this room represent different parts of the city, then why would we not go, all right, let's pool our votes together and let's get motherfuckers from other like-minded areas to go in with us in order to change the rules. Maybe we got some motherfuckers who don't agree with us and we'll promise them some shit that like they want so that we can get the rules changed so that maybe that stuff can get done.
Tag me in, coach.
Tag you in. I'm gonna step back and I'm gonna sip on my what do we have here? We got Barnes. We got Barstown.
No plugs. I was trying to what you two. I ain't right. I was about to, and I was like, oh, you can plug down here.
All right, you tap that. Go ahead.
Tag it. All right, bet. All right, so 2 things, right? And I ain't gonna be long because I know I
don't know what just happened. It's just like, I don't know what the hell just happened. You got a hot tag.
Like Sean and Triple H.
Yeah, right.
All right, so 2 quick things, right?
Die?
No. Why are you trying to kill HBK or Triple H?
What was it?
Yes.
Who was the one that fell from the ceiling?
That was Owen Hart.
That was 20 years ago.
That was Owen Hart, rest in peace.
R.I.P. Scott Hall, too, because he did pass last year.
We live in my bed.
Yeah, but not from falling from the ceiling.
You about to give me sidetracked? I have a whole point.
Right. We about to be sidetracked. So, who was the greatest wrestler of all time?
Baltimore County education, sir.
We can always take time out for Scott Hall, goddammit.
All right, so
Hey, yo.
You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it because I was almost about to bite. You're not going to do it. All right. What's I about to say? All right. So, 2 things, right? Because I was thinking about it. We all talking about absences. I remembered that 2 things. I think it was, I want to say it was a cover. If you came less than 30 minutes for that period, you were marked late for that day. Because you had to check in with homeroom. And if you didn't go to homeroom.
Was your homeroom first or second?
First period. So you had to go, you come in, go upstairs, and you would go in, check in, I'm here, you were sitting in the next class. If you didn't make that, you were absent for that day. I missed first period the whole half of my senior year.
Damn.
I went to every other class. I'm still marked as absent. Second thing, you have teachers that Miss Parker. Anybody? Should I say names? So look,
there's so many Parkers.
You gonna fuck Miss Parker?
Oh, man.
See, you try to do it again. I'm not going to do it. But I will say this. Anybody that went to cover, that went during the time I went, I'm telling the truth. If you were late, because she closed her room, I think it was like you had 5 minutes or 10 minutes to get to her class. If you didn't make it by that time, she closed her door and you were marked as absent. You'll be in the school. But I'm talking to my friends. If I didn't make it by the time she closed that door, you marked as absent, but you're still here. Which then leads to believe when you talking about 30-something, 40-something absences, is this stuff being followed through?
Are they all
right?
really absent?
And I'm saying it because I lived it. You know what I'm saying? I was there for that. I know. I was talking to my wife on the phone late at night. We talking. I wake up late. I get to class. I know I'm about this absent. I go sit in the cafeteria. You mark you was absent. You still go. You go to class, but you mark as absent for that day. So my point being is just that I'm always challenging these numbers because I'm not sure 100% how accurate they are with that stuff. But even again, to my point, it's been in terms of accountability for that stuff and for these grades. And like you were saying that you had old paint, dog. I remember wrestling and we had towel falling off the floor. I remember playing football, being on the football team, you running. And I didn't start. I ain't gonna lie. I was a bench ride. I got there.
Used to be first.
That's what I'm saying. You would run to the grass, about to get tackled. Hope you got hit there. Like you would get a 440 if we got to that jump.
I mean, I can give you another one. Like if you want to talk about so City and Poly are privileged relative, but like. I mean, how much value is it to be the B student in the F class? So, like, okay, Mervo, fine. Mervo, maybe, and I haven't been in Mervo in many years, so maybe they have one now, but Mervo didn't have a proper weight room. Mervo was one of the number one track programs in the state.
That's right,
and the only reason they finally got a track, what was that, about 20 years ago at this point, was because the Baltimore Ravens, rest in peace, R. Modell, donated. So, like, I'm with you. You're right.
So my point being with all of that is, again, you trying to say, all right, we got to hold kids to this standard, but we have not fixed all of these problems.
That's true.
And my thing is, like, again, if you're going to hold that standard, then that's fine. But the reality of it is, when you got these kids testing low on SATs and this stuff that ain't even in the curriculum to be taught, and now I got to sit back and go about you what analogies are about, what's that one, positives and all this other little stuff.
Can I help your argument for a second?
Do you think?
All right. When I took the SAT, there was on the math section. They said something about like solving for the integer.
Mm-hmm. What's the integer?
I had no idea what the
negative and the positive
was.
Hold on, I'm gonna tell you, integers, negative and positive. You know why I learned that? Middle school. Shout out to Miss Ganticky Hill Public School.
So,
above and beyond with it.
So when I was in school, they didn't use the term integer. They used the term whole number.
But they don't
functionally the same thing as it relates to the question. But because I didn't know what an integer was, I just guessed the answer because I couldn't even start to solve the problem.
Right.
Did you get it right?
So, I don't know.
They don't tell you right now. I don't know. They tell you right around.
To this day.
You get a score
to this day. I don't know.
But no, so like I said, so there's commonality in some of the things that we're talking about.
I agree, but it's just at the end of the day, my issue is they're trying to focus on a grade changing. And my thing is, that's cool, but you got to fix these other things first. You can't hold me to this standard without giving me the tools to reach that standard. If you, like, to your point, if you want to test me on it, that's fine. But if you don't teach me and then you test me on it, how is that fair? Because guess what? Brad, that's over in Harford County.
Brad.
He done learned that.
Brad.
But now you want me but guess what? Brandon got to worry about having fights before he get to school. Brandon got to worry about shootouts in the school. Brandon got to worry about all of the stuff that I have to worry about.
Yeah.
So now you're going to hold me to the same level as Brad, and Brad has an easier time, and that's not fair. So at the end of the day, it's like, cool. If you want to do these grades, then that's fine. But they just focusing on the grades without focusing on those type of issues, because again, that's what Fox News does.
So let me ask a question real quick. So since this documentary has come out, has there been any changes or what's the aftermath?
Let me tell you why. Because one of the things they mentioned was that they when they said they got all these reports back, they didn't say, oh, okay, well, we got all these reports back of grade changing. They said we got reports of what they spend the money on about Wizard games and all that.
No, they had reports of the grade changing.
They had reports of that. And also, question: How did they get those reports?
They sued for them.
How much did it cost for them to sue?
30,000, 33,000, right? Was it 33?
What was the exact number? I don't know.
More.
How much was
It was 6 figures, right?
Six figures.
What regular parent has that type of time and money in order to get to that? So,
but again, hold on. Wait. My point.
So, should you be involved with your child's studies?
Yes.
Ideally, yes.
So then what are we talking about, bro?
1,000%.
These are problems that get fixed early
Because
on. If you involved with your kid, the shit gets fixed early on. Not to mention the part that I said off record, but I didn't say on record. But I checked with somebody that works down the board of education. If you want your child to be held back and you don't want them to move forward, all you have to do is send them something in writing saying, I do not want my child to move forward.
You don't see a problem with the premise of that?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that as far as Fox 45, when they count on, they had these parents on there, and they're saying, oh yeah, well, I told them now they want my child to be pushed forward. I told them I wanted to be held back. Cool. You didn't send anything in writing saying that you wanted that. So if that was the case and you really felt that way, then that's what you could have did. But the reality of it is, you still wanted your child to go forward. So what you did was, you said, okay, pushing forward, but then you went and complained to the news. So at the end of the day, if you wanted to be stopped, you could have, but they chose not to.
So let's take that for a second. Mr. Brown, according to Flash, he said, if you want your child to be held back, you can present a request in writing.
No, it's not a request. It's saying in writing, I want my child to be held back, and they're held back.
I'm choosing to have my child held back in writing. All right, two parts of that. One, Mr. Brown, how many days were you sitting in on classes with your child?
0.
How many tests did you administer to your child?
0.
Okay, pause right there for a second. Melodies, in your opening monologue, did you specify in this report that parents requested their child be held back, but they were promoted anyway? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
That's my point. Hold on, but that's my point. Did you send something in writing? Hold on, but that's my point. Did you send something in writing? Hold on, wait, no, chill, don't do that. My question is, did you send the Board of Education something in writing saying, I do not want my child held back? Or did you, what I think most parents would do, I'm going to let my child get promoted, but I'm going to go complain about it to the news like it's an issue. Because if you really want your child held back, send it in writing. Because again, the same.
She said she requested.
Right, requested, but did you put it in writing saying this is what I want? Because again, it's the same parents that are sitting back about my child missed 30 days, and all of a sudden, oh, it's the school's fault. But no, did you put something in writing? If you ain't know your child missed 30 days, I doubt you put anything in writing.
Fam, let me tell you.
Same story, hold on. The same one that's talking about, oh, I dropped out of 9th grade and I needed to see something in writing. Did you? Probably not. Or the guy in the beginning. Your child has an IEP. Which means that's more important that you have to put them in because IEP has certain federal, not city, not state, federal regulations. Wait, hold on. I'll let you go. I'll let you go. Hold on. I'll let you go. Hold on. So, they have certain federal regulations that you have to hold a child back with an IEP. Not state, not local, federal. So, at the end of the day, if that's really what you are and you really that involved, you should have been on this a long time ago. But at the end of the day, if you don't want your child being pushed forward, you have the power to stop it. But what I think ultimately happens is these parents sit back and say, I want the benefit, but I'm going to complain about it afterwards. Like, oh, it's the school's fault that my child is like that. When you had the power to change that a long time ago.
Can you specify IEP? Can you give more context to that?
Yeah, so basically it's a child that has if you have you have a emotional,
a learning disability.
Yeah, or an emotional. You know what I'm saying? It could be from whatever, but they're basically saying whatever's going on, you have special needs that need to be met in order for you to be retained.
It's more
so like you.
No, I was just gonna say because I'm going we work with IEPs.
Right, exactly.
So like an IEP, like let's say your child is on the spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, all right, for this school year, it's like goals in a weird way. It's like you have a long-term goal, and you got a short-term goal. So the short-term goals are obviously what you want to work on during that academic year. So like the teacher is instructed, all right, so Johnny is good at math, right? So you want to strengthen that math, so he doesn't fall behind on that. He sucks at English, so we have to work on these things, whatever. He sucks at social skills, so a couple times a week he has to, do something with his classmates or something like that. And yeah, these things are federally put together because like DDA gets involved and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, bring you back again on why you need to vote because what? It's federal, right?
What's DDA?
Exactly, and voting don't matter though. I'm gonna just be that segue, but go ahead.
DDA is Developmental Disabilities Association.
Okay, all right.
So
Point of information at federal and like just reflect back to Flash's point about how voting and federal regulations reflect your personal life. Point of information, he's talking about federal stuff right now, which means that's presidential and Congress and all that other good stuff.
All right, so DDA, so this is federal stuff, and so what's the consequences of not properly reporting that stuff?
So you can get fined heavily because the government's in on it now and they say it's no different than the court telling you have to go to anger management. If you don't go, you'll get fined very heavily. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happens when you have a school get involved with a child with a disability because they're aiming to help that kid, but it's got to be regulated by somebody.
So tag me in. Can I get a tag? Can I get our tag? I got a question.
Before the tag.
The referee didn't see the tag.
Disqualification already.
So these are guidelines federally put in place, implemented at the local level by the schools. Correct?
What are you winding up for?
Nothing. I genuinely okay. So I'll show the ball behind my back. I was conflating in Baltimore County schools, there's we identified that we want to make sure that this kid's slightly behind in this level of learning for this particular subject. So we take them off to the side for a second and catch them up and then put them back. We do that once a week or twice a week, and then once we see that they're doing good, we put them back in gym pop and they're good. So I conflated that. So that's where my curiosity initially started. But now we're on a whole different tangent. And now what I'm trying to understand is, all right, so what we're talking about here is scoped specifically to students who need a little more TLC than, quote unquote, the average student. All right, Alexa.
Well, you said quote unquote, so that triggered something apparently.
And so I'm genuinely curious, and I'm trying to learn more about the interaction between federal funding and penalties and stuff like that the state. So
tag me in.
All right.
Again, back to the same joint with federal level in voting, because again, if you have a kid, basically the federal government looks at you like, all right, look, this kid didn't pass. I need to know why, right? So what happens is essentially, if let's say you have a kid that doesn't show up for school, this kid has PTSD, his dad got shot at school, picking him up. So now he doesn't feel comfortable going to class. So now he misses umpteen days. What he can then do is say, all right, cool, I haven't been, but this is why. So now the government is saying, oh, well, he has PTSD. Cool, we still need to pass him, but we need to put some additional parameters on him on why, so to catch him up when he moves up to the next grade. So we're not going to sit back and hold him responsible for that. And if you don't do that, you need to show me why you didn't do that. Which is why a lot of times they sit back and they say it's easier to pass them with additional parameters than to sit back and hold them back. Because then if you have an IEP, the federal government come looking at you. Like, well, why didn't you do that?
Okay.
Yeah, because it has to be results in that. And plus,
Exactly.
And plus, it's documentation. Like you gotta put progress notes with that student
To show what improvement, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, then what happens?
You get fined. You get in a lot of trouble.
Exactly. And if the kid doesn't come to school, then what happens?
You get in trouble.
You get in fined.
So,
Which is not even in that teacher's control.
So there's a qualitative standard that's placed on this. There's a quantitative standard that's placed on this. What's the qualitative standard that's assessed here?
As far as what? Like, what do you mean?
All right, so quantitative standard says, like you said, the federal government mandates that, in this scenario, there's an intervention that occurs. And when this intervention occurs, there must be, quote unquote, progress that's made that's measured by whatever measurement that's done. And if not, you get fined. Okay, that's qualitative in nature. Like we can calculate that. We can deduce that based off of metrics, numbers, and stuff like that. Quantitative is more like quality of life, the quality of impact that it's had on, let's say I don't know, the student or the students that's subjected to these interventions. So, what does the federal mandate? Like, how does the federal mandate assess the qualitative standards? Like,
I don't know if they do.
Yeah, they don't.
Interesting.
Really.
So
the only thing they could.
But if it's in school, then why do I? I mean, so.
Well, I was gonna say in that particular instance, all they could go by is what you put on the paper. If you say that the kid, I mean, it's no different than what y'all talking about with the class thing. If you write on the paper, Johnny interacted with his classmates positively 3 times out the week, then that's towards a goal, and then that's seen as good. Because I mean,
okay,
who has the time to look at exactly what each person?
Oh, interesting. Good question. So you said who has the time to look at that, right? So because we have quantitative goals that we're trying to meet. So if Johnny interacted well with a couple of his classmates twice this week, let's suppose that Johnny comes from a home where mom works 2.5 jobs and dad is addicted to drugs. How is it reflected in the quantitative requirements so that you don't get fined that Johnny will make quote unquote improvements?
It's not.
So then will we agree that the uniqueness of Johnny's situation is more qualitative in nature than quantitative? Is that correct?
But they don't.
Okay, wait. Give me the latitude.
Fox News didn't account for that. That's my whole point.
Give me the latitude.
That's my whole point.
Give me the latitude. So then,
latitude.
reclaiming my time.
Part of information, Eric May's voice.
So then, if we have no evidence of qualitative assessment at the federal level, which is then enforced at the local level, which is then imposed upon the children in the school system, then how can we understand how to properly implement wraparound services, which has been defined as ways to address unique situations that cannot be placed on an aggregate scale, to help these kids properly learn, and not only learn, but reinforce the things that they learn in school in the home.
So nobody's disagreeing with wraparound services. That's my whole point. Nobody disagrees with that. But
wait. Okay, my question is very narrowly scoped, though. I'm with you, right? No one thinks that wraparound services are bad. That's true. My question is that if Johnny, who we've confirmed has some sort of what did you say? Because I don't want to get canceled.
He's on the spectrum.
We'll say he has a learning disability.
Johnny's on the spectrum. He has some sort of learning disability, right?
Can't say that R word.
Wraparound.
Somebody recently said that.
That starts with W.
What school did you go to?
We don't talk about that here.
I was absent 30 days, so.
All right, so if Johnny has a learning disability and or he's on the spectrum, right? we've understood that. We agree to that. That's the case. We also agree and understand that at the federal level, that none of the legislation or policy speaks to a qualitative assessment, i.e., the value added to the child who is learning, and so we but the administrators, teachers, etc., VLOS, Flash, are subject to the same laws, legislations, and things like that. And you have to prove that this child, Johnny, is making progress. But the progress that we're measuring does not account for the qualitative aspects of Johnny's life. How are we doing anything that is of benefit to Johnny?
So, I think I hear you, and I don't disagree with you, right? But again, like we said before, I think it comes down to a matter of what should be versus what's practical. Because again, we'll use Johnny, right? If Johnny's parents, I feel like I'm just talking about a Baltimore stereotype, but let's say that Johnny's parents are never home because they're out drug seeking, and your goal is to make Johnny feel okay enough to come to school. If you can't get a hold of Johnny's parents for a whole semester, Johnny's still stuck. So it's like, I hear you, but that's a massive undertaking. And not to say that's not one that we shouldn't deal with, but it's like you got to match the timeline versus the school timeline as far as fixing both. I'm all for Johnny getting his whole life together. But at the end of the day, high school is what, 4 quarters? So it's like you got to have a reasonable situation where it has to be obtainable, number one. It has to be reasonable. And it can't impede Johnny's academics because this part hasn't been fixed yet, if that makes sense.
So, if I may, and I'm gonna wrap on up because I gotta get ready to go soon. But it all was that.
He's like, fuck you, I got applications.
But no, I mean, from what I'm hearing, what my takeaway is that it just seems like, it seems like it's just everybody got to work, like it's everybody got to work together for the kids. You know what I'm saying? Oh wait, hold on. Oh, solution. So my solution. My solution is that it's like I'm listening to all y'all points and stuff, and it really comes down to just personal responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Personal responsibility of the higher ups to well, you're already being funded, but personal responsibility of do you care more about the numbers of how your grades look to your superiors who are funding you, or do you care about, I forgot which one of y'all said it, that the people should because maybe the higher ups don't know that the kids are fucking up so bad, because what's being presented, as we talked about before, when you're talking about progress with IEP, if you're saying Johnny's interacting with kids 3 times, who am I to? I'm not going to take that extra step to question it. You said it. It's out there. So
wait, if you don't take that extra step, is that not an issue with you as a leader?
But that's what I said. That's what I just said. That's the personal responsibility.
When you have 30 kids, that's a little tough.
And sounds like an excuse to me. And you chose to have 30 kids.
And who chose? The teachers ain't choose.
Wait, you chose to be a principal, an administrator.
I'm talking about we talking 2 different things. I'm talking about regular teachers in the classroom.
Wait, when you chose to be a teacher, how many people did you think you would be in your classroom? 1?
I mean, you have ranges. If you do private school, you may have 12. You may have 6.
Did you apply to a private school?
If you apply to a public school, that still don't mean that you having 30 kids in your class.
Okay.
Oh, and let's also understand that, again, which brings me to my original point. So if one kid's having problems, then what do you do as a teacher? So if one kid is acting out, he's breaking furniture, he's flipping out, then what do you do with that teacher?
Exactly. So we're talking about wraparound services. We're not talking
I'm talking about that one teacher, right? I'm that one teacher. I'm teaching this algebra class. Johnny's house, he wants to break a table and threaten to kill everybody in his class. Am I supposed to then stop and deal with Johnny personally? Or am I supposed to let Johnny do whatever he got to do, get taken out by a class, and I start dealing with the 29 kids who want to learn?
Under the current process, I don't think it's reasonable for you to account for, like, to deal with Johnny on his own. But
that's what I'm talking about, teachers versus everybody else.
But to what Vilas was talking about, he was talking about higher ups. He was like, well, maybe they don't know that the kids are sucking ass at algebra. Like, but you applied for this job. Or you were offered this promotion and you said yes.
Can I help?
Or you ran for public office.
Like you said, can I help your argument?
The fuck?
Can I help your argument?
Yeah, go ahead. Help my argument.
I know one of the few times, right? But, like, so one of the things that I've heard, I had a conversation with one of my friends on the board of education. One of the things he was saying that is when you're coming as a higher up to help the schools, a lot of times they turn away help because it makes them look bad. They're concerned about the fines, the lack of funding and all this other stuff. So when you come to them saying, hey, look, you may be coming as a higher up saying, look, you can do this better. But they're looking at it like, oh, no, you're just trying to get me jammed up. And you trying to make me lose money from my school, so I'm not going to work.
So, wait, hold on, time out. So then that's a problem with your leadership. If the only reason I'm seeing you is you think you're going to get in trouble, so now you feel as though you got to cover it up.
So it's like, look at it like this. It's like it's like when we were working at, I'm going to use it's like when we were working at Murphy Company, right?
Uh-huh.
The CEO from Murphy Company come down to talk to you. You not thinking this about nothing good. You're not thinking, oh yeah, I did such a great job.
That's
you
true.
coming to give me a pat on the back.
That's true.
You looking at it like, oh, what did I do? What did I mess up on? What's going on? So you automatically meet me defensively because you like, yo, you wouldn't be here if I wasn't messing up.
So,
and they're saying that that's the problem because it's like, I'm coming in to help you.
Right.
But what happens a lot of times is when I want to help you figure stuff out, you're defensive. You're saying, I don't want to mess with this because this is going to mess with my school's funding. Already got teachers saying they underpaid. Already have a school team that's halfway funded. So I don't want to sit back and lose more money. And that's a disconnect.
So going back to the solution part, the solution part is simple. You got to remember it's all about the kids, man. You know what I'm saying? Like
Money,
it is simple. It's just all about the kids. Like it's a simple thing. Everybody just take responsibility for yourselves and work together. When you do that, it's easy to fix some of these problems. Now, of course, you can't fix every problem. Now, when we were talking about earlier, like getting punched in the face and all this kind of shit, that type of shit it's gonna no matter where you go. No matter where you hold on, time out. No matter where you go, you're gonna have. It's just part of being a kid. You're gonna have social problems. To a degree, you'll have social problems.
Point of information.
Yeah.
This is Baltimore City, and I'm not even saying it just to be funny, but this is reality.
Mm-hmm.
You're not talking about just fights. You're talking about shootouts. You're talking about rapes. You're talking about all this other stuff that happens in school.
Right.
You're also talking about inappropriate teachers are doing inappropriate stuff with students.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just, oh, yeah, you getting punched in the face.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're
so
right.
My point being is just that Baltimore City has a lot of undertaking. And again, my only point with that is, if you want to deal with the grade part and hold them accountable for the grades, then that's fine. But please make sure you fix all this other stuff.
But see, that's another thing I'm talking about. Like that's not talking about just schools. Talk about parents too. What are you teaching your kid about when a teacher is being inappropriate with you? Of course you.
A lot of times, like that's the thing. Like elite, and I'm not speaking for I can't speak for everyone in the situation, but for the ones I've heard, it's like, oh yeah, I'm coming to mom, telling mom, hey, look, this happened, and they're not really believing it because they like, oh, you just tripping. You know what I'm saying? And they got to go back and sit in that same teacher's class. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, to be fair, at some point, something happened where those teachers got caught. Because there's been a couple teachers that got jammed up recently.
Yeah.
But all my only point with that is, as far as the grade fixing, if you're going to deal with that grade fixing, make sure you deal with all this other stuff first. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is bumping my accountability up without giving me the tools for it. And then you're potentially ruining my future to prove a point.
All right, Melodies, you get the last word on this.
Solution wise, I was just thinking, like, I still think it should be accurate reporting. If they are failing a class, that should be reported, even if we're still promoting them. Because now that he made his argument, I understand you saying you don't want to mess up the kids. I get that, but some kids are going to get messed up in the process of finding the solution. It is what it is because it's currently going on. So if we make the solution, okay, we're reporting these kids are failing. We're going to still promote them, but these kids are failing. Something has to be done with these failing kids still. Like, something has to be done. The wraparound, all of that, what y'all was saying, that has to be done. We have to implement that. We can't just. I feel like we're ignoring it if we just are changing the grades and still not doing nothing. Something has to be done, and some kids gonna get fucked up in that process. But there will eventually be a solution that works, and that those other kids, we're speaking of future generations, will have a fucking chance. Setting them up, not doing nothing, and just letting them get to high school and just like, all right, now you're on your own. Like, that is insane. That is insane, and that's going to be funding the prison program. It's going to be funding the prisons. Like, we really are funding our demise, not doing anything, and just still giving money. We don't know for sure if that money is actually trickling down to the schools like it need to be. It could be the elites up top taking a lot of fucking percentage of that money and not giving the schools what they need, so that it still seems like they're being underfunded, even though they're getting billions a year. Like, something has to be fucking done. And unfortunately, it's going to be some generation of kids that's going to get fucked in the process. But that generation behind them will have a fucking chance.
What do you do for that kids that got fucked in the process, though? Like, we can't just write them off.
We can't. We're not. And not my solution is not to write them off. Like, we still can pass them, but we have to create something within there. Like, if they have to go to another school, or like if we have to do more summer schools, like we can't just not do nothing, because there is going to be learned helplessness. They're going to like, oh, I don't have to try because they're just going to pass me along. And once you do that for so many times, it's going to be in your head. And these kids get to 15 years old and they wild the fuck out and crash the fuck out. We have to do something. And I'm just like, the grade fixing can't be like, that has to stop, period. We have to get accurate information of what is really going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, that has been I'll call it a lively discussion. An hour and 21 minutes about schools. And again, it was focused on Baltimore City Public Schools, but certainly applies to like many like different school systems across the country.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, like, really get something out of it, and I hope that it motivates you to want to do something, want to discuss it, put it out there more. Like we said earlier, it's just not Baltimore City. Like, it's all across the nation. Any of these inner cities is the same shit, and we gotta make a change on a lot of levels if we want to change stuff for the future generations. It's not about us. It might not even be about our kids. It might be for our kids' kids. So something has to be done. And just inform yourself and pay attention to what's really going on in your city, your state, your county, whatever. And go to our Instagram page at Bear Plans Podcast. Share it with some friends, and we'll see you next month.
Peace.
All right, we out.
Peace.